Fantasy football is about choices. Will it be James's expertise
He's going to be the only guy on the field to get the ball. He's a 3-down workhorse to get the ball.
or Chris's insights?
But even if they trade him, I still don't think they're going to become a run-first team.
The choice is in your hands. We give you the option.
This is the option. Thanks for joining us. Does strength of schedule play a part in drafting? What do you think, James?
Age
Yeah.
before beauty. You go first, James.
Am I older than you? I thought you were.
No,
older
I'm
than me.
older and more beautiful. So
I don't know if that works that way. Then you
He
can't
got
say
to
that
pick because
sentence
he's
that
both.
way.
No, he got to pick because he's both.
I got the
If we're doing
trouble.
age before beauty, it's you before me, sir. But that's okay.
No, I got both.
I know you're older. You don't remember those things,
No,
but that's all
younger
right.
before younger. We'll give
I'm
you
gonna
younger.
answer the question the right way. So just have a second. Sit there for a bit. Give me a sec.
Okay. I got
So, in a keeper and redraft format, yes, strength of schedule does play a part in my drafting. As soon as the schedule came out a few days, it was a couple of weeks ago, I was already looking at what teams were playing who throughout the whole season. The first thing I'm looking at is who's got the easiest schedule, which running backs, which quarterbacks, because these are guys that I'm going to be targeting, and I'm hoping that it's the superstar guys that actually have those easy schedules, because that just makes it easier for me to pick.
But
them.
aren't superstar studs matchup?
Yes,
proof?
yes, you're right. You should always
shouldn't you
draft your
not
regular
really-
superstars, start your stars. I go by that. I do as well, just like you're saying, and I
so.
understand that. But I mean, if I find that one of my superstars or studs that I really want has the best strength of schedule, it's a bonus in my eyes. But the strength of schedule for me, I mean, let's just take an example. Nick, can you give me the top 5 strength of schedules for the quarterback, running back, wide receivers, and defenses, please?
Yeah, no problem. For the quarterbacks, from 1 to 5, it goes 1 New Orleans, 2 Green Bay, 3 Indianapolis, 4 Minnesota, and 5 the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to stop you there.
That's going to change so much because you don't even know who's going to be throwing the ball in New Orleans right now.
That doesn't mean that New Orleans doesn't have the easiest schedule to throw. They're the team, whichever quarterback it is, will have the easiest schedule. So I'm gonna hopefully by the time we draft, we'll know it's Winston and or Taysom Hill. But if you don't know, at least you still know they have that. I probably wouldn't draft New Orleans quarterbacks right off the bat anyways. And depending on our league, we're not looking at quarterbacks to begin with until later. Where I
You're
like
not
to
taking
do
Taysom Hill 101?
no, nowhere. Not even if it's a 2 quarterback league. No.
Not even
But-
2301.
But I mean, the quarterback situation for me for strength of schedule, also I look at it for the bye week. So if I have 2 quarterbacks or 1 quarterback league and I have a quarterback I need on a bye, the bye week that my regular quarterback is in, I'm looking for the best possible quarterback to pick up later in the draft that's available. So I'm going to look at that schedule to say, who's he facing if it's, say, week 15 or week 12 or whatever it is. And it may change who I pick for there. Nick, running backs.
Yep. Again, 1 to 5, easiest being 1. Indianapolis at number 1. Chicago at number 2. The third is Tennessee. The fourth is Minnesota. And the fifth is Green Bay.
Okay, so just seeing that there alone, you've already got a bunch of superstars that are already going to be high. What I like to do here is I would also look at their end of season schedule to see what their playoffs are looking like, because these might be some guys that I'm going to hope that they do really well at the beginning. I can then trade them after I've drafted them because they're doing so well, knowing that their schedule might be a little bit harder later on, and get something of someone who in the playoffs is going to have a really easy schedule later on. So these are things I'm looking at while I'm doing these drafting to take advantage of certain players, like you sort of like to say, Chris. Nick, wide receivers.
In the wide receiver category, first is Green Bay. Second is Minnesota. Third is Chicago. Fourth is Indianapolis. And fifth is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, so same thing. You're looking at the same thing. These are the guys there, and you're probably trying to take some of these guys because you see they have easy schedules throughout. And but I mean, you're right, Chris. You're already going to draft Devontae Adams. You're already going to draft
Justin
Allen
Jefferson.
Robinson. You're already like these guys are already there. But if there's a tie and it's something close between 2 players, you might take one that has an easier schedule than the other because of that. Nick, the last one, the biggest one I think is defenses. I look at the defensive side because if I'm taking defenses and we have defenses, I know, Chris, we don't play in a lot of leagues that have defenses, but if they do, the defensive special teams, that's what you're looking at. And whoever's got the easiest schedule are the first ones on my list. So who are the 5 there?
Yep. Number 1 is Arizona. Number 2 is the Los Angeles Rams. Number 3 is Washington. Number 4 is Dallas. And number 5 is Seattle.
Yeah, so I'm jumping on the Rams as much as I can. Even though they're number 2, I still think they're going to be scary.
Washington.
No, Dallas is going to destroy them 2 times this season.
Dallas is going to destroy something, but it's not going to be opposing offenses.
Oh, you'll see. With Dak back,
Yeah,
trust me.
you will see too. Don't worry.
No.
8-1. Just be clapping your hands like a true Dallas fan, all right?
Not happening.
Yeah, okay.
I still
Denial's the
think-
first sign.
So are you saying
All
that
right.
you don't use it?
I don't use no preseason strength of schedule. To me, is generally a poor indicator of actual in-season performance. It is not a completely useless tool, like you say. You like to use it in the tiebreaker situations, but it is a tool that I take with a massive grain of salt and consideration for off-season changes. For the current year, defensive efficiency isn't very sticky, so it's hard to take too much from it. It's a very fluid situation. There's so much that can change in a strength of schedule between when you draft and mid-season and end of season. A tool that I use instead of strength of schedule is Vegas win totals. It's something that can be helpful in predicting game scripts and projecting the number of pass attempts for an offense. But breaking it down at a positional level like you just did, you're asking to get analysis paralysis, as I like to call it, because you can kind of put yourself in a pretzel. Nick, can you give me the top 10 Vegas win totals as of right now?
Yeah, as of right now, Vegas projects that Kansas City is at 12, the Buccaneers at 11.5, Green Bay is at 11, Baltimore is at 11, the Rams are at 10.5, the Bills are at 10.5, Seattle is at 10, the 49ers are at 10, and the Colts are at 10.
Yeah, so all those teams have a high hit rate of stud players that I will be targeting in my drafts, and I'll use like you said, strength of schedule to make in-season trades to set up my team for the playoffs.
But that rate that you just did, the same list, it's the same. I mean, you're still doing the same idea, just you're using a different list.
Kinda.
So at the end of the day,
I'm not necessarily using strength of schedule. The win total is kind of the same thing, but when
if
you
they're
break it
winning
down
all those
positional-
games, that's probably because their schedule is going to be a little easier depending on which team they're facing. Anyways.
Yes, no doubt.
So you're kind of still doing the same thing. I'm just looking
but
at.
I wouldn't use it at my draft. Like the question, like you like to point out, picking the question is using it at your draft. I wouldn't use it
it's
at
an
my
extra
draft.
tool to
I would
have.
use
Why
it-
not? If you could.
No doubt. It's a tool that I have in my toolbox, but I'm not necessarily going to use it as a main.
It's
thing.
not my
It
number
sits-
one
I don't
either.
use it at all. Strength of schedule, I don't use it at all. I'll use it to make moves mid-season to set myself up for the playoffs. That's where I factor in strength of schedule.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. Definitely some things to look at between looking at strength of schedule or not.
We give you the option.